Well, this is I think it's a historic day. I think that people will look back on this day with the creation of Jobs Ohio and see it as a vehicle for transformation of our economy. It will allow us to move at that speed of business, and it's important that we move at the speed of business for one reason. People need jobs. With jobs comes hope. Without jobs, people become hopeless. And we've seen it throughout our communities. We see it reflected in violence. We see it reflected in poverty. We see it reflected in rising homelessness. Jobs Ohio really returns us. It's kind of back to the future. Jim Rhodes created a department in 1963. Jim Rhodes were here today, he'd say, you go for it, kid. Because this is about to restore the ability of our entrepreneurs, our business people, and our job creators to weigh in with both feet, both arms, and with their great brain to be able to help the people of the state of Ohio to compete once more. And not just against India, but against Indiana and Kentucky and North Carolina and Texas. This is not the end of the road. This is a very, very important piece of what we need to do in this state to restore the possibilities again of Ohio leading the way in our Middle West. The Middle West itself has been under siege. Ohio specifically under siege. The loss of 600,000 jobs in the last 10 years, only exceeded by Michigan and California, and the loss of 400,000 jobs over the last 4 years. I'm very, very appreciative of the vote in the Ohio Senate, 31-2. It represented a significant bipartisan approval of legislation that initially received no bipartisan support in the House. I'm also pleased that when the bill returned to the House of Representatives, it also became bipartisan, with a couple brave members of the Democratic Party that stood up and say we can't keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. To the members of the media, there's no trapdoors or secret programs. You will have access to what happens in Jobs Ohio. We want to maintain privacy when it is appropriate, only from the standpoint of being able to do a successful negotiation to create jobs and not put ourselves in a position to compete against ourselves. It's critically important that we have high ethical standards, which we will have in this bill. I am glad that there were some Democratic amendments that were accepted in the Senate. I think the bill was improved. But we don't want to get into the technicalities of how you make sausage in this business. Today is a day that is a very big step in restoring the vibrancy of our state. We have a budget to go. We have to continue to work on the taxes and improving the cooperation of our universities. I'm glad to see that Dean Christine Poon is here. Just met with her the other day. She was not just a distinguished executive at Johnson & Johnson, but frankly has been voted one of the 100 most important women in the world. And she's one of the most important women in our world. And we work together and talk and collaborate and I think move quickly. Am I right, Christine? That's the way we do things around here. But I'm very optimistic about the future. It will not be easy, as we see from 4,000 people descending on the State House grounds yesterday, and I don't know how many in Wisconsin. Change is hard. But you know what? As long as we focus on the good of the people, as long as we focus on giving people the tools that they need to improve themselves, as long as we focus on establishing entrepreneurship, as long as we focus on the fact that the flesh and blood is what matters and not the politics, we're going to get there. It is a journey, and there's sort of a destination involved. But I believe that this is a very significant first step in the bid to make Ohio great again and to preserve its legacy. Tremendous to be able to introduce Mike Duffey. He and I, it's really pretty an amazing story. I met two little boys in Washington, D.C. in wheelchairs with helmets on their heads, who had visited the president for special wish. It was not much after my parents were killed by a drunk driver that I met these two boys. I remember having a grilled cheese sandwich with Eric he dropped a sandwich on the floor of the cafeteria or the members' dining room. And I said, "You can't drop your grilled cheese sandwich, Eric." He cried, he looked at me, and he said, "I want another one." I brought him another one. And I said, "I'm going to take you to the movies." Well, I befriended this family, and so did my wife. I had a very special relationship with Bobby and Eric Krensky, their parents, all of whom, amazingly, are gone. Bobby dies at the age of 8 or 9. He said, "Bobby, you know the end is coming." He said, "Are you okay with the big guy?" He says, "I don't need a lecture. I'm way ahead of you." Bobby once told me, he said, "John, you're nothing more than a kid in the congressman's body." Eric then passed away, as did Mom and Dad. Dad from a massive heart attack, and Mom from the disease that took the boys. In the middle of all that, I meet a young man who's getting ready to go to the University of Michigan to improve his life. His name is Mike Duffey. It's a special moment for us and for the Krenskys,
Yeah, it is.
who are saying, "You did pretty good, kid."
Thank you, Governor. I was 15 or 16 years old when I met John Kasich, and that's when I started to believe in politics and that we could get something done in the world. So he is the reason that I'm here today. I believe in Ohio. I didn't go to the University of Michigan to stay in Michigan. I came back to Ohio. and I took my legs this fall. I also believe in John Kasich. I really do. And I think that he's the right person at the right time for this state. And he's used the words, a first step. And those are the same words that I used in committee when I was giving the sponsor testimony. Because you have to think of this as a journey. As important as this bill is, and it does set the stage for success, it is just the first step. And we all have to walk that journey together. Because it's not acceptable that Ohio is dropping in per capita income, that we're lagging the national average in population growth. 30,000-foot view, this is what we're focused on. This is what my career is going to be focused on. And this is what I know that the governor's focused on. So I really appreciate the opportunity to be here with you today. This is a special experience. It's kind of like getting launched into the stratosphere as a freshman legislator. But I have a 10-month-old son. I have a lot of peers in my generation, I'm 33 years old, who didn't come back to the state of Ohio after they graduated from college. And I'm tired of seeing that. I want to make sure that my son, Jack, comes back to the state of Ohio. And it starts here with Jobs Ohio. Thank you.
Well, I'm honored to be here today on behalf of the 31 members of the Senate who voted to help bring jobs back to Ohio. And as the Governor mentioned, it was a bipartisan effort and a very strong bipartisan showing by the members of the Senate. I'm also very proud of the work that the members of our caucus did working closely with Representative Duffey and the administration in crafting this bill. And I know some folks had some concerns in the early stages about provisions of the bill. But as you know, this is a process, and we worked through that process, and I think during the time that we had the bill in the Senate, and in collaboration with the administration and the House, we made the bill stronger, we made it transparent, and we made it a bill that is going to enable us to have the tools with a qualified individual, an outstanding individual like Mark Kvamme, to lead us and make sure that we are open for business in Ohio, and we do have jobs for your 10-month-old when he's ready for the workforce. Thank you.
First, I want to thank the President of the Senate, members of the Senate, for the hard work that they put in on this legislation. As you know, we worked quite a while on it in the House. Some people to the contrary notwithstanding. And we found as we worked on it that one of the things we had to do was get it out of here so that the governor could begin his administration on an affirmative basis, and you were just a huge help to us in I see Chan Cochran back here. I don't think it would be a complete morning without saying something about Jim Rhodes, in the sense not just of his having established the effort to bring jobs to Ohio, but also in the fact that he was absolutely as irrepressible as this governor is on the subject of business to Ohio. When you come from Jackson County, you do your best to help your neighbors. He did his best to help every neighbor in the state of Ohio. And for that reason, we in Ohio know that it can be done. We in Ohio know that one governor, with very good help and assistance and support as he has in Mr. Kvamme, one person can make a huge difference in how a state grows or fails to. I think it's exciting to see the young people in my caucus. I try to let them know a little bit about Jim Rhodes from time to time, and I say, when you see the governor jumping around, we don't take anything away from that. What he's doing is firing people up the way Rhodes used to do. And I think it's important that we realize that it's been a long time since the 60s when Rhodes started that, and thank God we have someone to succeed him as this governor is. So that, I was up in East Cleveland yesterday. The unemployment, unbelievable. It's horrible. But there is a solution to it. It's a positive attitude. It's a piece of legislation that will enable him to start the very important work that he has to do. We now have the tools for the beginning. It's not the whole story. For the beginning. And by gosh, somewhere over us, looking down, saying attaboy to this governor is Jim Rhodes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. As the others have mentioned, this has been great work by lots of folks. Obviously by Representative Duffey and Senator Wagner from both houses. Also we have Senator Widener and Senator Faber. And Senator Faber has a special place in my heart because he prepared me for all the committees I was going to go to with several of his colleagues. But also there's several other people in the room on the governor's staff. Matt Carl on my staff, Christy Tanner, Ben Kaiser, among others. And then I also want to do a special shout out to the folks that are doing it in the field. Folks like Alex Fisher here in Columbus, and Jim Leftwich in Dayton, and folks in Gary down in Cincinnati, and Tom up in Cleveland. It's been an effort together, also with all the chambers of commerces as well. So we really want to give you a big thank you. As the governor likes to tell a story, when he was in my offices at Sequoia about 5-6 years ago, and he was sitting in my office. I said, "Oh, you see that man right there?" I tried to grab that man. And I said, "You know, you're going to hear about that guy." And he said, "Oh, who is that?" And he said, "His jeans and ripped up T-shirt and ponytail, the whole thing, you know, the typical Silicon Valley nerd thing." And I said, "That's Chad Hurley. And he just started a company called YouTube, and you're going to hear about it." And it actually brings me back to that time.
You've heard about it.
You've heard about it. I think I am confident that starting February 18th, 2011, you're going to hear about job creation in Ohio. I think we're going to put the right foot forward. We have the right tools in place, and I'm happy to be here. And this is a great time for all of us in the room. I do the Boehner moment too, I'm sorry. I get a little emotional from time to time. This is a great state. It's a great product to sell, and I look forward to working with all of you to sell the great state of Ohio. Thank you.
I also want to do a shout out for Jimmy Shepard, part of our legislative team, and I want to thank Troy Judy, Matt Schuler, the whole crowd, the staff in both the House and the Senate. And I do want to thank Representative Barnes, Representative Patman, and a particular shout out to the Senate Minority Leader, Capri Cafaro. Not easy for her to do. Not easy at all. A lot of pressure for her to go along and make this a pure partisan bill, and I don't want to praise her too much because then I'll get her in trouble. But it took courage. But you know, it isn't by accident that she figured this out, because at the age of 15, this woman goes to Stanford. That's unbelievable. Okay, at the age of 15, this is a really smart person. And we're going to have our disagreements, but you know what? I give her a lot of credit, and I hope you all tell her that. And 31-2 in the Senate is pretty remarkable, and we're thrilled about that. And see if there's anybody else. I guess we have most people thanked here. And again, to our teammates, the head of the Ohio Chamber, the head of the NFIB, very important organizations, the small business community, the big business weighed in, but our regional people. They hold out a great promise in Cincinnati with Gary, and down in Dayton with Jim, and you know, with Jumpstart and many of these other regional organizations. This is an opportunity for us to get some wins, to leverage our assets, to put them together, get some wins for the people of this state. So, without further ado, I get to sign my name with, I don't know how many, oh, and by the way, also a special recognition to Mary Taylor. Her job on CSI and conforming and eliminating rules and regulations is another critical part of how we're going to be able to move the state forward. So, Mary, thank you.
Can we have the back row shift to the right just a little bit, please?
Could we what?
Back row.
So left, shift to the left.
I'm sorry.
You know what? This is the neatest I've signed my name since the 3rd grade.
You have to spell your middle name out.
No, I don't have to. By the way, I met with Beth Hansen, our Chief of Staff's 3rd grade in the governor's office the other day, and I've come to understand that for those who are kids, you know, 1st through 5th, 6th grade, you tell them you're the governor, they don't know what that means. So I just want you all to know, I tell them I am the president of Ohio.
Also not the Senate.
Okay with it, huh?
There it is. I think we're going to have a gaggle outside, or Scott will figure this out. Thank you all.